The question of content moderation is one of lively discussion, to say the least, among people of all political stripes, for the simple reason that it involves the First Amendment right of expression that every person in America shares. We want to vindicate everyone's opportunity to express themselves through the internet. When I say we, I think all Americans of any political background should want this because it vindicates some fundamental values that we all share. The First Amendment is important because it helps political discussion, and in a democracy, political discussion is the essence. So we want to encourage as much as possible platforms to host people who now have an opportunity to publish that they formerly had to go through gatekeepers to achieve. What's the nature then of content moderation that is desirable, and what's the nature of content moderation that is undesirable? That's the fulcrum of this debate. The desirable kind of content moderation starts with allowing platforms to exercise discretion to get rid of noise, to get rid of things that drown out reasoned discussion, that drown out civility. The internet, as we all know, in many of its corners is anything but civil. There are a lot of traumas that are created by bad behaviors, and while the law can only do so much about these things, we certainly want to encourage private actors to do what they can to police it. So that's where content moderation starts, with those kinds of principles, if you will. The family-friendly atmosphere that Prodigy had in mind is something that a platform should be able to choose as a business model. We want to make sure that that's lawful and that it's permitted. The second thing that we want to do is make sure that content which will destroy the very business model of the platform isn't forced on them, that content moderation that would be demanded, for example, by advertisers or by the lion's share of the user community in order for people to feel comfortable patronizing that particular platform. That kind of content moderation has to be allowed as well, or else the model that presently relies on advertising and permits people to post essentially for free would be destroyed. So for example, if I am an advertiser, concerned about my brand, I don't want to appear alongside Nazi propaganda. And so we ought to allow platforms to not post such content if they choose to do so, and not to, by virtue of that kind of exercise of discretion, end up being liable for all of the user-created content on their platform. So I think that's what we want to achieve. I would put that in the category of making sure that what is technically lawful, that is to say permitted by the First Amendment, which hate speech, unfortunately, is protected by the First Amendment. Unfortunate from the standpoint of the advertisers, for sure, and probably from the standpoint of most people on a platform who don't want to see hate speech. But that kind of lawful but awful content should be subject to moderation, at least in the discretion of most platforms that choose to moderate for it. And of course, the other aspect of choice here is us, the users of these platforms. We have choice too about where we want to go, and we patronize those platforms that make us feel reasonably comfortable when we're there. And that then takes us to the question of what kinds of content moderation do we not like? Well, we don't like content moderation that discriminates against people on the basis of race, on the basis of religion, on the basis of sexual orientation, or things that are illegal in any case. All platforms are subject to the civil rights laws. They well should be, and I think vindicating our national laws and our state laws in that respect, makes total sense. Content moderation needs to follow those rules very strictly as well.